Welcome to the Folktale Project. This is Dan Scholz. And today, before we get into the story of the herd boy and the weaving maiden, I have a bit of an announcement to make to all of you that there's going to be a change in format to the podcast. Believe it or not, it's been nearly 7 years of the Folktale Project, over 1,200 stories shared, and if we're being honest, I'm a little tired. So, we're going to make a change. While I don't want to stop telling these stories altogether, I do want to take a bit more time and be a bit more selective in the stories that we share. And so, I'm going to reduce to 1 episode a week. After this week, it'll be on a Wednesday, but for now and for today, it's obviously Monday. We're going to do a new story, something that I haven't told before, which is something that over the last few months, as we've been reading through the Blue Fairy Book and the Chinese Fairy Book and other larger books, we've been coming across stories that have been told, and I haven't really enjoyed that. I want to share new things and discover new things. And that's what the Folktale Project has always been about, to some extent. Showing the stories that we all share. And, in that vein, this story is one that should seem rather familiar, although it is, again, from the Chinese Fairy Book as a kind of bridging tale for us. It's a story that it feels very familiar. This is The Herd Boy and the Weaving Maiden. The herd boy was the child of poor people. When he was 12 years old, he took service with a farmer to herd his cow. After a few years, the cow had grown large and fat, and her hair shone like yellow gold. She must have been a cow of the gods. One day, while he had her out at pasture in the mountains, she suddenly began to speak to the herd boy in a human voice as follows. "This is the 7th day. Now the white jade ruler has 9 daughters who bathe this day in the sea of heaven. The 7th daughter is beautiful and wise beyond all measure. She spins the cloud silk for the king and queen of heaven and presides over the weaving which maidens do on earth. It is for this reason she is called the weaving maiden, and if you go and take away her clothes while she bathes, you may become her husband and gain immortality." "But she is up in heaven," said the herd boy. "And how can I get there?" "I will carry you there," answered the yellow cow. So the herd boy climbed on the cow's back. In a moment, clouds began to stream out of her hooves, and she rose into the air. About his ears there was a whistling like the sound of the wind, and they flew along as swiftly as lightning. Suddenly, the cow stopped. "Now we are here," said she. Then round about him the herd boy saw forests of chrysoprase and trees of jade. The grass was of jasper and the clouds of coral. In the midst of all this splendor lay a great 4-square sea, covering some 500 acres. Its green waves rose and fell, and fishes with golden scales were swimming about in it. In addition, there were countless magic birds who winged above it and sang. Even in the distance the herd boy could see the 9 maidens in the water. They had all laid down their clothes on the shore. "Take the red clothes quickly," said the cow, "and hide away with them in the forest, and, though she ask you for them, never so sweetly do not give them back to her until she has promised to become your wife." Then the herd boy hastily got down from the cow's back, seized the red clothes, and ran away. At the same moment, the 9 maidens noticed him and were much frightened. "O youth, whence do you come, that you dare to take our clothes?" they cried. "Put them down again quickly." But the herd boy did not let what they said trouble him, but crouched down behind one of the jade trees. Then 8 of the maidens hastily came ashore and drew on their clothes. "Our 7th sister," said they, whom heaven has destined to be yours, has come to you. We will leave her alone with you." The weaving maiden was still crouching in the water, but the herd boy stood before her and laughed. "If you will promise to be my wife," said he, "then I will give you your clothes." But this did not suit the weaving maiden. "I am a daughter of the ruler of the gods," said she, "and may not marry without his command. Give back my clothes to me quickly, or else my father will punish you." Then the yellow cow said, "You have been destined for each other by fate, and I will be glad to arrange your marriage. And your father, the ruler of the gods, will make no objection. Of that I am sure." The weaving maiden replied, "You are an unreasoning animal. How could you arrange our marriage?" The cow said, "Do you see that old willow tree there on the shore? Just give it a trial and ask it. If the willow tree speaks, then heaven wishes your union." And the weaving maiden asked the willow, and the willow replied in a human voice, "This is the 7th day, the herd boy his court to the weaver doth pay." And the weaving maiden was satisfied with the verdict. The herd boy laid down her clothes and went on ahead. The weaving maiden drew them on and followed him, and thus they became man and wife. But after 7 days she took leave of him. "The ruler of heaven has ordered me to look after my weaving," said she. "If I delay too long, I fear that he will punish me. Yet although we have to part now, we will meet again in spite of it." When she had said these words, she really went away. The herd boy ran after her, but when he was quite near, she took one of the long needles from her hair and drew a line with it right across the sky, and turned this line into the Silver River. And thus they now stand, separated by the river, and watch for one another. And since that time, they meet once every year, on the eve of the 7th day. When that time comes, then all the crows in the world of men come flying and form a bridge over which the weaving maiden crosses the Silver River. And on that day you will not see a single crow in the skies from morning to night, no doubt because of the reason I have mentioned. And besides, a fine rain often falls on the evening of the 7th day. Then the women and old grandmothers say to one another, "Those are the tears which the herd boy and the weaving maiden shed at parting." And for this reason the 7th day is a rain festival. To the west of the Silver River is the constellation of the weaving maiden, consisting of 3 stars, and directly in front of it are the 3 other stars in the form of a triangle. It is said that once the herd boy was angry because the weaving maiden had not wished to cross the Silver River, and had thrown his yoke at her, which fell down just in front of her feet. East of the Silver River is the herd boy's constellation, consisting of 6 stars. To one side of it are countless little stars which form a constellation pointed at both ends and somewhat broader in the middle. It is said that the weaving maiden in turn threw her spindle at the herd boy, but that she did not hit him, the spindle falling down to one side of him. And that is the story of the herd boy and the weaving maiden from the Chinese fairy book. It is quite a familiar story of literally star-crossed lovers, and one that we see in so many cultures around the world. This is Dan Scholz for the Folktale Project. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere that you like to get your podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram and Threads at Folktale Project. If you'd like to help support the project, you can head over to patreon.com/folktaleproject. Or you could always just share the stories with someone you love. I do appreciate that. As always, thank you so much for listening.